Great. Now you have your opener. Let's move on to answering the next question the audience has. Hey, why do I need to listen to you? You see, you can't assume that people will just listen to you because you're wearing a nice suit. Although this is a nice suit, isn't it? And I hope you're listening. Here's the thing. In this part of your speech, you're going to tell the audience that you understand the problems that they have, and you understand that they are in trouble. Remember back in Module 1, we did the exercise where I asked you, what problems did you help someone solve? Why don't you go back and look at what you wrote? Look at the problem, the consequences of those problems, and how they relate to someone's health, wealth, or relationship. Now I'm going to give you some improv prompts, and let's have some fun where we improvise this part of your speech. State the problem the audience has in terms of a rhetorical question, such as, how often do you wish you didn't have so many meetings? How many of you feel that you can't actually get work done? Later in the comedy module, I'll show you how to make this funny, but for now, try and hit the nail on the head. Now you try it. Imagine the audience in front of you and ask them, how often do you ever how many of you feel that Now, open a Word doc and transcribe what you just spoke. Pause the video now. Restart it when you're done. Write the top 10 problems you believe your audience has dealing with your topic. Ready? Go. Now, look over your list and pick the top 3 problems and write them down. Now, using your top 3 problems, Go back and do a rewrite of your rhetorical questions. Pause the video now. Restart it when you're done. Great, you now have an opening of 3 rhetorical questions. Using the problem list you just created, imagine the future consequences of those problems if they're allowed to run rampant and unchecked. In this exercise, we'll use this phrase, next thing you know. For instance, downsizing means that hours are too long. Parents can't get home to their families. Next thing you know, if you come home before midnight, the dog thinks you're a burglar. Your kids say to you, you look familiar, have we met? Okay, now you try it. Futurize your problems. Pause the video now. Restart it when you're done. So far you've written out 10 problems you've gathered from your research. You've selected 3 or 4 problems that when mentioned, the audiences will nod their head, yes, the speaker knows us. You've futurized how horrible their problems will become by adding this phrase to them, next thing you know. Call up your buddy and see which of these futurizations gets a laugh or rings the most true for them. If none of them land, it's time to try again. Turn your recorder on, stand in front of your computer. And how many of you have tried things that didn't work, such as and maybe you tried insert another failed solution. And then maybe you tried even another insert failed solution. Review what you've recorded and in your Word document, write out some of the failed solutions. Pause the video now. Restart it when you're done. Here is where you tell an extremely short story about just what a mess the audience has. This is the audience that you are speaking in front of. This is not a mess to success story. This is a short story about, I know how stressed you are. I spoke to Susan before I gave this speech, and she was telling me that she has to park a mile away. And by the time that she gets to work, she goes, I'm so sweaty. I look like I've just run a marathon and I'm exhausted. So if you're talking about stress, it might be someone you interviewed prior to giving the speech, and you're going to just tell a very short, maybe 20-second story about the messes that this audience is facing. Pause the video now. Restart it when you're done. A quote or statistic from a reputable source gives your speech further credibility and drives home the point that the problem you're addressing is relevant to your audience. A good statistic can hit your audience between the eyes and give them a reason to believe your message. Go on the internet and find a quote or a statistic that gives your topic credibility, that proves that they really have a problem. Pause the video now, restart it when you're done. Get online and find 10 quotes from 10 different experts that relate to the problem that you are talking about. Pause the video now, restart it when you're done. All right, let's review so far. You have organized the problem the audience has into rhetorical questions. You've written a top 10 list of the problems the audience has, and you've rewritten your rhetorical questions. You've futurized just how horrible their problem is going to be. You've listed some failed solutions. You've come up with a short story about them. You have found some stats and quotes from doing internet research about the problem. Now you have a document that has a lot of raw material. Look over all the writing you did for this video. Now, turn your recorder on and let's do some improvisation about this part of your speech. Follow my guide. How often have you felt, talk about the problem? And have you also felt that and how often have many of you felt even I understand that you also talk about more problems. And next thing you know, you're going to and another. Next thing you know, you're going to and if you're feeling insert problem, next thing that's going to happen is and many of you have tried things that haven't worked out, such as and you've also tried insert failed solution. And did you also try insert failed solution? Matter of fact, I talked to insert name of audience member. And boy, was he having a problem with insert story about a problem somebody in the audience has. You know, statistics say that insert statistic. And matter of fact, experts say, insert a quote from an expert. Congratulations, you now have the first 10 minutes of your speech. Get together with your buddy and present two versions of this section of your speech to each other. Ask your buddy the following questions. 1. After hearing that section, were you convinced that you actually had a problem? 2. What was the problem? 3. Was the problem presented as a judgment or a concern? 4. Were you convinced that the problem was severe and needed a solution? If not, why? Is the problem something that your credentials qualify you to speak about? And 6, which approach worked best and why? Did you have fun with that part? Did you, after you improvised it, did you transcribe it and get it written down? Don't worry if it's a mess. Don't worry it's a rough. It's your starting point. And if you need to, feel free to go over this part, do the exercise again, keep it loose. And by the way, don't worry about making it funny now. Later on, we will have a comedy module. We'll do a comedy pass and we'll lighten it all up and get some laughs out of it. Right now, you just want to get down your rough draft. And chances are, if you nailed the problems and when in your speech, if your problems match the problems that the audience has, well, then you're going to have them in the palm of your hand. So next, we're going to move on in your speech to something they probably missed in the beginning that you're going to have to repeat. Watch.